My name is Ginny, also known as 2/3 Lotus, everywhere on the internet. This clip is part of my series, The Poets of Twitch, where I analyze my viewers' writing live on stream. Nothing has been edited out, so you're seeing this exactly as streamed with all of the imperfections and tangents that come with being live. If you want to catch me live or want more information, check out the description. Otherwise, enjoy some excellent writing.
Is by Highcallibrr. Oops. Caliber. Cool. There's a Mexican poet called Amado Nervo that I highly recommend to you. I feel like, y'all, there are, like, this is the thing. You all just keep recommending me, uh, these, like, South and Central American poets and writers. And I can't even keep up. Like, I haven't even bought, like, one of these books that y'all recommend to me. I, I, I like, I love recommendations, but it's crazy actually how much poetry gets recommended to me by people. Uh, so maybe people just need to start sending me books. Never was Mexican, haha. Recommend Becker for Spain. Did I say Spanish? I meant Spanish speaking. I messed this stuff up. And you're from Mexico. Blue Mata. Cool. This is good. Naruto once said that America in general should be understood as Europe as a unit. The United States and Latin America are not so distant. They influence and nod each other. Understood as Europe. Okay, so you mean like America as the entire Americas? Well, like there is some of that, but you also look at like Europe, and Europe is like this little thing. It's got a peninsula. It's got an Italy. It's got like this thing. It's got all that, right? And Europe is like very, very small. Europe is like that, like tiny. Like, oh, I can't scale this. That's annoying. I was gonna shrink it down. And then the Americas are like massive. Like they go pole to pole basically. And so I like yes, I do understand this. There is this continuous transmission of information like north to south, south to north, but there is so much. I forgot the British Isles. I don't. Yeah, I know. And then I deleted uh, Europe as a whole. So, yes, I. We're talking about Europe. That's true. That's true. Britain is in Europe. They left that. Gin and Juice. Good afternoon. Hello, Nico. Welcome. How are you? We should uh buy right be an Asian peninsula. The border is mainly Europe as an Asian peninsula. Yeah, I mean kinda. Europe is in Asia. Should have only deleted France. No one cares about the British Isles. Yeah, pretty much. Podcast I recorded last night was wild. Yeah, I'm super stoked to see that. I don't know, is it up yet? I haven't had a chance to go like poke around and find it. Damn, Twitch says British isn't even a word. You might have to capitalize it if you put it like Brit. Maybe you need to get rid of the I. British, British. I'm always happy to make fun of British people. It's only available on Instagram. A podcast on Instagram? That sounds like a struggle to like watch. We can do a little watch party some other time. Perhaps. The British Isles are are right side up Australia, but also like worse. The doorknob has seen my saw, but fear not, tie the knot, hold the rope, throw to a higher branch when it feels strange to be still, alive, and real. Random Bangers, my poet of the Dolan chat. A British derogatory. Yes, that is so real. Um, yeah, that's just real. Top British authors: Shakespeare, John Lennon, Ronnie Pickering. You know, that's pretty much true. Actually, you forgot J.K. Rowling. She's British, right? I think she's British. Pratchett. Oh, Pratchett? That makes sense. Terry Pratchett sounds like a British name. uh, okay. I'm gonna talk about poetry now. I She's a moldy British. Isn't that like all of Britain though? Because they have all this fog and dampness, and everyone just kind of gets moldy. She's oh, y'all are great. When I feel down, I like writing something short and relieving. That's a really good thing to do, poet of the dole. I am I'm glad to hear that. It's using poetry just for those little feelings of respite is a lovely thing. Brits have had some great authors like Shakespeare. Hate Milton though. Fair. Top British bears. Paddington, Winnie the Pooh. I've run out of British bears. I love poetry as copium. Everything is copium. And once you accept that, it's okay. Lord Byron, though. True that. Listen, just go on Grindr. Yeah. Find those modern British bears. All right. Oh no, I'm hydrating. My jug is actually full, which is great. Y'all, this is so random. This morning I made tortillas because because I eat a lot of tortillas. I put egg and potato in them for breakfast and cheese, and it tastes really good. And but the tortillas, everything in the store keeps getting more expensive, and the package of 10 tortillas just keeps going up every week. It's more expensive. And I'm like, well, we can't be doing that. My dad's like, these are so expensive, and he's complaining about them. I'm like, okay, I'll just learn how to make them. And I made tortillas this morning, and they're way better, and it's so good. So I'm super stoked about that. That's just a random fact about my day. Oh, that's a holographic cartoon bear from that Black Mirror episode. Haven't seen Black Mirror, but uh, I trust you that is indeed a top top 5 British bear. Okay, here's an untitled work by Highcallibrr. Now that we've got the yapping out, which has to happen at the start of stream. So here it is. Untitled by Highcallibrr. Oh wait, that bear from His Dark Materials. Okay, His Dark Materials, that's a book, right? I feel like I want to read that if that's a book. I've heard of it and I don't really know that much about it. But now I'm distracting myself from the poetry. Try again. So, after the Highcallibrr poem, I want to plan a watch party of my pod. If it's only on Instagram, not yet. The poem is being edged. Yeah, it is. I don't think I'm going to watch 38 minutes on Instagram. It just sounds kind of logistically annoying. You can't pan through it or whatever. But once it gets on another platform, I will. You have a file? Huh? Perhaps. It depends. It depends. If there's certain people here with poetry, then that. Because the big priority is to be getting through poems right now because the anthology deadline is coming up, and I don't want to go too far past that with the poems, because then I need to make the anthology. No more edging? Oh man. Untitled by Highcallibrr. Is this in verse? I forgot. No. Definitely not. I forgot I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you. And now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. More bears, Shademaster Jade. You do not need to shut up about bears. So, I'm going to read this again. I forgot. I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here, distraught. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you, and now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. Untitled by Highcallibrr. So we can talk about sound, almost certainly. Dicus Magnificus, you say solid poem. Is it iambic? It does not feel iambic. It looks like it might be, and I don't think it is. If we try to read it iambically, I forgot I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest. So you have some weird things happening. That now mutes itself at my every beat, my body. Like the number doesn't line up. You want to have even numbers in iambic stuff, right? I forgot I hid you underneath my heart, and now is 13 syllables. And iamb likes even length lines. I cannot bear it anymore, Shademaster Jade. I don't give names to my poems usually. I don't need it. I don't have a need for it, and that's okay. That's good. So this poem, there's still some sound things going on that is not necessarily meter or verse. Does iambic just refer to iambic pentameter? We can talk about that in just a second. It does not. Absolutely does not. So when you want to look at if something is iambic, we can actually talk about that now. Iambic is being made of iambs, or following a structure that allows everything to be read as a series of iambs. It goes short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. And the long kind of, is long. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Or unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. The stress of the syllables matter. Yes. So, basically, the way I describe this is you have your poem, and it's divided into 10, or your line is divided into 10 chunks of stress, unstress. Now, And iamb, in addition to being a word for this sort of structure, is just a name that we use for a type of word that follows this pattern of unstressed, stressed, or, for more simple terms, short, long. And this is only 8, but that's okay. So, stress is another way to say accented. Functionally, yeah. The music term might be accented, and then my high school English teacher said it sounds similar to a heartbeat. Yeah. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Da-dun, 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 da-dun. That's iambic. So, let me take a word just from this poem. Let's do distraught. That's a great example. So we can look at the word distraught. And this has certain stress within it. We have 2 syllables, dis and trot, or dist and rot. Doesn't exactly have to be perfect, but it's somewhere there. Dis, trot. 2 syllables. And one of them is going to have more stress. It's just where we give more sort of weight in the word. It's hard to describe what stress actually feels like. But in this case, the stress syllable is the second, and then the first is unstressed. Distraught. Da-dun. And we can see this if we try to put it in like the exaggerated iambic structure. Distraught I am. I don't know. Something, right? Da-dun, da-dun. Versus I distraught, like referring to oneself, I distraught, perhaps. But if you try to force weight onto dis, it sounds odd. Or maybe the distraught. The distraught, and then continuing on. Like let's say the distraught man. The distraught man. It doesn't flow well within the word. It sounds like distraught is being broken up kind of weirdly. But if we say, distraught the man, he cries, something like that, then we can just see that it fits short long. So that's iamb. Shake my spear. Funnily enough, I submitted an iambic poem last night. I did see that. Maybe I'll take a look at it, potentially after this one, depending on who else is around. Try to go in order, but also you're new. So, iambic just means the repeated structure within the poem. Da-dum, da-dum. Now, someone said, I think it was Shademaster Jade, does it just refer to iambic pentameter? So, iambic refers to the way these syllables are. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Pentameter, we can actually think of it as like pentameter. Penta, like pentagon, pentagram. This is 5. So it is quite literally, if it is iambic pentameter, it is 5 iambs. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Now, we can have iambic tetrameter, which I think is what Shake My Spear submitted, which is 4 iambs. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Da-dun, 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 da-dun. I presume you can just stick any number on here. You could probably have iambic hexameter, which would just be da-dun, 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 da-dun. This is maybe what we hear the most, pentameter. But it's really just a description of the number of these units that are happening in the poem. So, when we look at this poem, if we just want to see, is this iambic in verse, we can try to say it that way. I forgot I hid you. So, let's look at forgot. I mean, forgot is a very iambic word. Da-da. Forgot. We land on got, and we have an unstressed syllable going into it. But we are placing it starting on syllable 2, which would be placing our unstressed for in a position that should be stressed, and got in an unstressed. I forgot. I forgot what? I forgot I hid you. Like it doesn't work. So we can tell quite immediately that this is not iambic. Now sometimes poems will use a few lines of iamb and then a few lines not, just as a, tool of sound and structure. This one I don't think does. And that's a little less common. Shakes my spear, have we met? Yeah, shake my spear is new. Walks in medium, walks in night. And 5 iambs per line. Yeah, that's iambic pentameter. Stress, accents. Okay, cool. Thank you, Stylish Fail. You're very helpful. So, in terms of sound and structure, we are not doing anything iambic, but we can still go and look at the other sound stuff. So, for those who are sort of coming in new, I like to talk about poetry as a sort of trinity. 3 important things that I've identified. This is subject to change, but I see it as the intersection of sound, structure, and meaning. For a while on this stream, I was mostly focused on meaning, saying what does this poem mean? But lately I've been liking to start out my analysis just talking about sound and structure, and first what the poem is doing. So, I forgot. I hid you underneath my heart. And now, I sit here distraught. There, so we have a rhyme. And I did notice this throughout the reading, is just you have these rhymes that are kind of in non-traditional positions, or just not at the end of the line. There's probably a word for this that I can find, but rhyming at the end of the line versus rhyming in the middle of the line. But I don't know if there's an actual term. So we'll just call them end rhymes and interior rhymes or something. So, I forgot. I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest, that now mutes itself at my every beat. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest, that now mutes itself. Sometimes it can be hard to find rhymes, but there might just not be any. At every beat, my body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you. And now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. Internal rhyme? Is that the name? I forgot, I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest, that now mutes itself at my every beat. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you. And now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. Now, I don't think we're going to end up with too much rhymes. Caliber says, do you think this style of writing would make for a good play? Of course, we have someone like Shakespeare putting like full sonnets verse into play, into theater, but we have a lot of just plain text happening in plays, so this could just be sort of a poetic dialogue that we're looking at. So perhaps there's not too much going on. I also don't feel any particularly overt, like, alliterative things happening. Throughout this poem, so there's not too much there. We do have some interesting punctuation. Colons, semicolons, you don't see these often. And this is like a structural tool, punctuation, that we can use poetically. I forgot. Colon. I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? So structurally, it's just that, like, these are pointing to each other. It's really like a couplet of 2 lines here. I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This is not meant to kill you. And now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. So I guess the only sort of structural thing I feel happening is that this first section feels almost introductory, and then we have the rest of what's going on, an explanation of sorts. Which I guess means just like on to meaning. What are we saying in this poem? I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest. I really like this word still here. I feel there's almost double meaning. Still the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. So we're talking about like this thing mute, quiet at every beat, kind of like, we're talking about love like a heart. And yet there's this lost love. So you kind of have this idea of like the heart being still and the love being gone. So I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest, or I remember still as in it has been some time, I still remember it, or I remember in stillness the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. So I guess there's like a few meanings that can just come out of this word still. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you. And now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I had. So my body forgets you. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you. That's actually like a very distant rhyme, like the kill and the still. And in terms of that, one thing that sometimes happens or we feel as readers is when things are sonically connected, they are also connected in the other ways, in like meaning. So the idea that this person is dead, there is this idea of stillness. It sort of connects. This was not meant to kill you. And now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. This nice little like circular thing happening. Um, like love lost as death. I'm kind of struggling in this work to really immediately pull a lot from it. I mean, we're obviously talking about love and love that has been lost, and this person sort of tortured over it. The forgetting of the person, a death, the past. Like maybe I'm missing something that's not resonating with me. I'm not sure. But I'm kind of just like staring at this and bouncing off of it, and I'm not sure why. Uh, I guess I'll ask chat. Do any of you have thoughts so far on this in terms of meaning, sound, just the poem, not like quality? Um, like yes, I like it. It feels pretty, but I don't know. I feel stuck. I forgot I hid you underneath my heart. Like there's not any deep sort of symbolism metaphor happening. I mean, there's like the love as this beating heart. And maybe if this is written as dialogue, Highcallibrr, then that is why. Or not dialogue, but sort of as something in a play. Like you say, right? So you ask the question, I think this style of writing would make for a good play. I haven't read plays, like any. I've read a little bit of Shakespeare. It feels like exposition, not something personal. Yeah, like it feels slightly removed, like I'm not getting the whole story. Um, we just have talking, I hid you, now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture, the love I hid. Like turns to torture. And then it just ends. I feel like this poem still looks toward the future. To torture the love I hid. Turns. I don't know, Caliber. I'm very much struggling here. um, do you have any more context to what I am reading? Like it's fine writing. It's poetic. Um, Here, maybe I need to step away from it. There's an ad break coming soon anyway, so I'm gonna run the ads. This is something that's very useful, just as a lesson to you all in terms of writing and reading. If you feel stuck on something, sometimes the best way to get past that stuckness is just to stand up, turn the other way, and like move at least 5 feet away from it. So during this ad, do some self care, step away from stream. That is good for you. And I'll be back shortly. Still right here. Just obfuscated by advertisement. Admonish I do the obfuscating advertisement, mind skating through, I don't know, something poetic, blah blah blah, comment on capitalism. Stretch. Okay, that's a stretch. Okay. I am back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am still Ginny. Still 2/3 Lotus. We are still reading this work by Highcallibrr. Here it is again. I forgot. I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you. And now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. Untitled by Highcallibrr. I think... Okay. What could have been an act of mercy turns to torture. So I think it's about dissecting like what is actually happening here. Maybe if I do that, this will help. And then we have this idea of the heart, I guess, being the heart. What could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. Okay. So I hid you underneath my heart tells me, like, not allowing love. That's simple enough. And now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? So we have this hiding of the love in spite of wanting to love them for one reason or another. As I read it, what gives me some hesitancy in that kind of interpretation is I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest. That now mutes itself in my every beat. We think about like listening to people's heart, the sound, the feeling of the heart beating, but then this is odd if the love sort of didn't happen. Hiding you underneath my heart, maybe it's like not loving in love, like sort of a mistreatment of someone. Maybe that's a better reading. So, I hid you underneath my heart. Like, I did not truly love you. Even though we did this thing called love. I remember the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. Like, there's almost like an abuse reading of this, which is odd. My body forgets you at each pump of blood, like blood rush, all of this stuff. This was not meant to kill you, and now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. So, like, we hide the love, but I did love you. But then there was this loving connection that actually occurred. You know, like, that now mutes itself at my every beat, as if there was once something there and now there is not. And then this was not meant to kill you. And now it could have been an act of mercy turns to torture. The love I hid. I guess this is torturing oneself. Is it you underneath my heart? Okay, maybe there is a lot going on here. So, we have two things. Let's simplify this. We have you and we have I in this poem. You and I. You are under my heart. This can be a good way to organize one's thoughts. Under my heart. And now I sit here distraught. I am distraught. I loved you. Who was it that I loved? Okay, maybe it wasn't you, but I had love. And sometimes we think about like loving someone and then no longer, and then it's like, who was this person I loved? But there is a sense of loved in the past. I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest. So you were in some way like upon my chest. Yours. Okay, this is yours. Is upon my chest and it mutes itself. My body forgets you. Okay. This was not meant to kill you. So they are in some way dead. At least to me. And now what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. So I am hiding love. So just looking at the dynamic of love. So, I forgot. I hid you underneath my heart, now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? So, there was love, and then now they have been killed. I'm just confused at like the interplay of the hiding of the love and the love itself and what that's actually saying. And then there's the part of me defaulting back to the implication that this is somehow related to the writing of a play, as Highcallibrr says, which makes me say, oh, this is just a random 7 lines, and it is just meant to get to describe a love. But I don't know. I forgore. No worries. My birthday's ending in an hour. Well, happy birthday, Antenna Pen. Also, welcome. It's been a while. I'm staring at a poem with a feeling of complete loss. For the first time in some time. I forgot. Yours upon my chest. Now mutes itself at my every beat. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. Hid underneath my heart. Thanks everyone. Also, oh my gosh, your outfit is pretty. Thank you. I appreciate it. I I like this cardigan. I haven't worn it in a long time. For gore or nor? That's bad, I'm sad. Such a goof. And that's the truth. It's so real. I mean, what is happening here? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. My every beat forgets you at each pump of blood. So this sense of like, as I go on, I forget you. I forgore you. This okay. The heart. Chat. Perhaps we can use paradox to our advantage, duality. Um, well, like paradox and duality. I presume you're trying to like give me a hint to get at something. Um, I mean, there's like the cop out of love as this like paradoxical thing. Um, I mean, yeah, like love is torturous, love is pain, but love is a beautiful thing. But like, it doesn't feel like that's really what this is saying to me. Like we have like what could have been a mercy turned to torture, sure, but it's like I forgot. I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? I mean, it's like distance versus proximity or something. If I had to put a duality on this, distance and proximity. Just like sort of a juxtaposition of these two things. I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest, and it mutes itself at every beat. My body forgets you at every... And then, I mean, you have, like, life and death as well. Like... You're thinking something like cute aggression. Okay, Stashville, where do you see cute aggression? I'm not like denying you. Okay. This was not meant to kill you. I know it could have been a love I hid. You were underneath my heart. No, I said you're distraught. Who was it that I loved? Like the idea that you love something so much you want to hurt it, like hug it to death. Like that movie, like that. I think that's a reasonable reading of the last two lines. This was not meant to kill you. Now, it could have been an act of mercy, love, whatever, turns to torture. But it's turning to torture the love I hid. Like, it's not like a torturous love. It's torturing the hiding, and then... I'm not confirmed I cannot tell lie or truth. Honestly, I'm just grasping at straws here. So am I. Like it's a love poem. I don't know. Um... Highcalibrr, this is great as a as as something for writing for a play. Because no one ever understands plays, and people think they understand plays, and then they all point at the same thing and argue over what it means, and they say, "Oh no, I understand the play. You don't." And thus, as something that I'm struggling to understand, sure. I feel like it has a huge backstory that is not obvious. Maybe a great opening for a story. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, so to me, I'm gonna talk about detail. Wait a second. We have a graph for this. We have a graph for this. It's the specificity graph. So back. So, everyone has their own way to understand the specificity of things. This goes to 0. Interpretations, specificity. As specificity increases, as we get hyper-specific with something, the number of possible interpretations we have narrows. As things become unspecific, we have a chance to have more interpretations and draw things from it. As things become very unspecific, depending on the person, we can have some amount of lack of specificity where we just don't understand anything that is being said. I'm like currently here on my specificity graph. Everyone's looks different. Like, I understand that love. You started the play with it. I have a huge outline based on this poem. Cool. Um, yeah, I mean, there's this feeling that there could be dramatic things of actual murder and like forgetting and I don't know. Like, I guess I would ask the question, high caliber. Like, should it stand for itself or on its own? Should it stand on its own? They're probably like, you could say no, you could say yes. I want this poem to be sort of confusing and not say anything entirely clear until the play is read and then what exactly the character means when they talk about the act of mercy and torture and the blood and the stillness and the chest and the forgetting is all revealed through the play. Or you can have the poem stand on its own and be able to say something sort of like tell a story on its own and do the thing poems do. Regardless of whether or not you read the play. And if you want it to be really confusing, then like I think you've succeeded. Um, like I don't know what there is to say about this poem that gives me concrete thought on any of it. Because it seems so deeply contradictory to itself. Which is okay. Like there's probably meaning in that contradiction. Maybe I'm just tired today. I don't know. Last two lines refer to what happens, but since it doesn't show it, I can't say. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. Like I okay. So in some sense, right? The other day we had Mantle Merchant send the lyrics to their song. Uh, and I look at it and I'm like, how can I actually interpret anything of value from this because it's missing 90% of the art. And if literally the last two lines are making reference and can only like I guess I'll ask you, Highcallibrr, do you think that the last two lines can be reasonably understood without knowing the story of the play? And if the answer is no, then I struggle to justify why one would share that poem asking for like a meaning analysis. You know what I do. You know that I sit here and analyze what things mean. Um, uh, it's okay. Um, I'm just like like I don't know if you see what I'm saying or if I just sound mean. Like uh but like if you don't want the poem to stand on its own, then as an artist, I did not say this is a bad poem, Highcallibrr. If you don't want the poem to stand on its own as a poem, which it kind of sounds like you don't because you said that it doesn't, then I wouldn't present it to someone as a work to be understood in its entirety. But if it is a complete work within a work, then that makes sense. It's like reading page 230 of a book. Yeah. Let me. What's a book I read recently? Oh, I have a great one. Nah, I gave it to a friend. I have a different one. Where is it? Okay. This is mean. I probably shouldn't just read this. Here's the last page of Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. Maybe the last paragraph. Oh, it's on this page. Okay. No longer knowing whether time existed, whether this display had lasted a second or 100 years, whether there was Siddhartha or Gautama, a self and others, wounded deeply by a divine arrow, which gave him pleasure, deeply enchanted and exalted, Govinda stood yet a while bending over Siddhartha's peaceful face he had just kissed, which had been the stage of all present and future forms. His countenance was unchanged, after the mirror of the thousandfold forms had disappeared from the surface. He smiled peacefully and gently, perhaps very graciously, perhaps very mockingly, exactly as the illustrious one had smiled. Govinda bowed low. Incontrollable tears trickled down his old face. He was overwhelmed by a feeling of great love, of the most humble veneration. He bowed low, right down to the ground, in front of the man sitting there motionless, whose smile reminded him of everything he had ever loved in his life, of everything that had ever been of value and holy in his life. Like, it's great writing. You can tell that. There's some deeply impactful moment for this person that is like shaking their entire life. But I have no idea, if I haven't read the first 130 pages of the book, why Govinda cries when he sees this, why he kisses Siddhartha. To Stylish Phil's point. Yeah. Like, so let's say I didn't know Romeo and Juliet. I think there's sonnets in there. Probably. There's poetry within a lot of Shakespeare. And you send me that, like, a piece of poetry from within Shakespeare. Me not knowing the story, and I'm like, who's Romeo? Me not know it was not interpretable. Well, so it very well, like I don't know. I interpret lots of poems, but just because I can't interpret something doesn't mean it's not interpretable. So I don't necessarily want to like say that as a broad, sweeping statement. Like, but I don't know really what this is saying or pointing to. Stylish Fail, who's become pretty decent at analysis through watching the channel, doesn't know it. No one else has proposed any ideas. And it's deeply broad in general. But like maybe I'm missing something. Like maybe I'm just dumb today and tired, because I am tired today. And that doesn't mean it's bad. Like it might be great if I knew the rest of the story. I just don't. So, like, and like, I don't know. it really feels like I felt it. Like after two reads, I'm like, what? Like I read it the first time, and then I'm like, what did this say? And I read it again, and I'm like, what is this saying? And normally you have some idea of what a poem is pointing at. Like the word distraught could be the whole poem. Yeah, like I sit here distraught. Why? I have no context over the fact of some vague act meant to kill you. Like there's no specificity. Um, and that's okay as an opening to another some number of pages. Feels like there's a great idea, but it's not on the page. Yeah. That. Would you care to share the story, Highcallibrr? Or would you rather leave it as a violent unknown? So if you have your dog, like a two-sentence description. um, I hope you have your document. I hope you still have your play, because it feels like it's written like a play. I could see someone on stage. I forgot. Curtains open. I forgot. I hid you underneath my heart, and now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you. And now, what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture the love I hid. And then you launch into a play. It's great. That sounds awesome. That sounds like a beautiful intro. It's just like a single person on stage, almost like a monologue. Sorry about the leaf blower or whatever. It just isn't a complete work. Kind of feels like overhearing very juicy gossip at the next table in the restaurant, but you miss the start of the convo. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it even needs like a metaphor like that or a simile. It's just like it feels like the start of a play. It appears to be gone. Callie, you've got to keep track of your good ideas, because I presume it's a good idea. Most things are. I don't know, though. I will wait, though. Let you remember. But yeah, I could see this being spoken by some king who's, the opening of some tragic play. Or the ending, even. Like if we had this continuous theme throughout the work of hiding the love and it causing pain, then like the love I hid would come into context, and then like someone literally dying in a tragic way, like it could cap off a great work of play. It also feels like a great in media res start. Yeah, RES. In media res means basically in the middle of action. And it is RES. Those are great. They're super fun. They hook the audience, right? You open it. I mean, maybe like I don't know. it feels like a monologue. Like, it's not action, but it's like you're dropped into a story and stuff has happened before and now stuff will happen after. Um Sort of in media res, but like yeah. The writing is good. The idea seems good. It's hard to critique on its own. I agree. So the guy loved someone but never told them. The torture is that he lived his life not telling her. In the play, this guy accidentally kills his lover, but in the fight, he hurts his head and gets amnesia. Yeah. So, like, yeah. Like, sounds good. No issues there. Sounds fine as a sort of tragic plot line. Like, I have blood on my hands and I don't know why or how or who this person was. Uh, it's kind of cool. Um, like now it makes sense. You know, not like it makes sense. Like you can't see it any other way. Like I forgot. I hid you underneath my heart, right? I hid my love, and now I'm distraught. Who was it? Who was this person I loved who I now forgot? Um, I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest. And now mutes itself. So there's like this sense of again just the forgottenness, who you were, but I'm not quite sure. And I keep forgetting and it's slipping away. And then this like death. Like it yeah. Would I be able to pull from this? Man hides his love and then gets amnesia. During a fight when his lover dies? Or whatever? I don't think so. So yeah. But it seems very good as like dramatic dialogue in a play. This is why having second readers really helps. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It also, like, I read it and I was thinking that a lot of this doesn't feel entirely like super duper poetic. Not that it's not poetry, but it's like you're not doing any sound or structure stuff in the back half, which I mean you normally do, Caliber. Just you have a lot of sonic things going on. And it's like this person saying, like literally speaking. And it sounds like a person speaking. I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself in my every beat. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you. Like it and that's good. Like it's probably good that it doesn't sound like a normal Highcallibrr poem to me because it's intended as Highcallibrr playwriting. um yeah, but that just means it's like a hard thing to approach with my normal style with no context. Hard to distinguish what you have in your head and what's on the page. Always. Yeah. Very difficult. Uh any other questions? I feel kind of bad in the same way that I did with like the mantle merchant analysis. Like I feel like that analysis sucked too because it wasn't analysis, and this sucks because it's not analysis. Um, but I don't know. No other questions? Got a call. Alright, here's an untitled work by Highcallibrr. From a play, perhaps, that you will see someday in an independent theater. Or maybe on the silver screen. When it gets a film adaptation. I forgot. I hid you underneath my heart. And now I sit here distraught. Who was it that I loved? I remember still the sound of yours upon my chest that now mutes itself at my every beat. My body forgets you at each pump of blood. This was not meant to kill you. And now, what could have been an act of mercy turns to torture. The love I hid. An untitled work by Highcallibrr. If it was in a theater, it would have me at the edge of my seat. Yet it is on a page.
Thank you for watching. I encourage you to check out the rest of the series, follow if you enjoyed, and stop by Twitch if you want to share your own work. See you there.